Hi, in this video, I'm going to show you how to draw a Bohr model. So when it comes to drawing Bohr models, we need to use our periodic table to help us find important information. So we are actually only going to worry about the first 3 periods when it comes to drawing Bohr models. And that is because once we go down to the other periods, the model actually gets more complicated and is not very helpful for our needs in middle school. So we're only going to be practicing the elements in these first 3 rows or periods. So for this example, I'm going to use lithium, which is abbreviated as Li. So in my first box, in my notes on this is page 52, I'm going to start off by writing my element symbol, which is lithium. So I put Li for lithium. So I'm going to look at the periodic table and identify the information it gives me. So first off, this top number is called the atomic number, just like in our key over here. So our atomic number for lithium is 3. And a reminder that atomic number tells us the number of protons, and the number of protons is equal to the number of electrons. So we get 2 things just from that atomic number. Next, we have the atomic mass, which is this bottom number. Kind of hard to see, but it says 7. So this small number, which typically has a decimal after it, is called the atomic mass. And the atomic mass is what is in the nucleus of an atom, which is the number of protons plus the number of neutrons. So just with that information, we know a lot about this element. First off, we know that the number of protons is 3, and I just abbreviated it as P positive because protons are positive particles. And we also know that the electrons, that there are 3 electrons in this element, and I abbreviated that as E negative because electrons are negative. Next, we need to know the neutrons, and I abbreviated neutrons as N0 because neutrons are neutral, so they have no charge, 0 charge. So remember, in order to find the number of neutrons, we have to do a little bit of math. We're going to have to subtract the atomic number from, we have to subtract the atomic mass from the atomic number. So the bigger number from the smaller number. If you get a negative number, you're doing it backwards. So please make sure to remember that to find the number of neutrons, it's the atomic mass minus the atomic number. So the bigger number minus the smaller number. And that is always true, that the atomic mass is always going to be bigger than the atomic number. Even if it's just by a little bit, it will. So in this case, to find my number of neutrons, I'm doing 7 minus 3 because it's atomic mass minus the atomic number, and that will give us 4. So there are 4 neutrons in the lithium atom. Finally, we need to know the number of electron shells. And the way you know the number of electron shells is to know what period it is in. So in this case, lithium is in period 2. And you can see that here just by looking at the periodic table. It's on the 2nd row. So because it's in period 2, it has 2 electron shells. Some people call it levels, or they call it orbitals. They all mean the same thing. And I abbreviate electron shells as ES, which is what I did over here. All right, so finally, we have all the information we need in order to draw a Bohr model. So step 1 is to begin in the nucleus. So I'm going to write my element symbol, which is lithium, and I'm going to put how many protons and how many neutrons are in the middle. So let me go back to my chart that I made. I have 3 protons, and I have 4 neutrons. So that's step 1, is to draw the nucleus. Draw and label the nucleus. All right, now I'm going to move on to the next step. And the next step is to draw the electron shells. So I'm going to redo everything just to show you the steps. So I have 3 protons and 4 neutrons. And because it's in period 2, it has 2 electron shells. So I'm going to draw 2 big circles around it. Okay, and I'm just drawing it big so you can see it better, but you can draw it to fit on your page. All right, so that's step 3. So the last step is to fill the electron levels. All right, so I'm going to redo everything again. Lithium has 3 protons, 4 neutrons. There's my nucleus. And then I'm going to draw my 2 levels like that. And we found out in the beginning that lithium has 3 electrons, right? So now we need to order them in the levels. So the important part to remember here is that each level can only hold a certain amount of electrons. So level 1 can only hold 2 electrons. Level 2 can only hold 8 electrons. And level 3 can only hold 18 electrons. So as we go up the levels, we have to fill each level before we move on to the next one. So for level 1, I need to get 2 electrons in there. And then for level 2, I only have 1 more electron left over. But each level can only hold a maximum based off of this chart. So level 1 can only hold a max of 2. Level 2 can only hold a max of 8. And level 3 can only hold a max of 18. And since we're not going to do anything past level 3, just worry about remembering this. All right, so now we got to place those 3 electrons into our shells. So first off, I'm going to start with my first 2 electrons. The first level is a little different than the rest. And I actually fill in that first level with the 2 electrons right next to each other like that. Here's electron 1, electron 2. And you can kind of think of this as they're best friends or sisters, so they want to sit next to each other on their first level. So these 2 electrons will sit next to each other like that. But now that we go into the second level, the electrons want to sit away from each other. So we're going to go in a clockwise fashion to fill in the next level. So we begin at the top and we fill our next electron there. And that's it. I've used all 3 electrons. If I had more electrons, I would go clockwise and fill it in separate from each other. So I would go here, then here, then here, then here, kind of like a clock, right? And then I would go again until I get a total of 8. In this case, since we only have 3 electrons, I've already filled up my levels and used all of my electrons. And that's it. That is my final Bohr model of the element lithium. I will do a quick review in case you need to. Step 1 is to find out all of the information you need using the periodic table. So I found my atomic number, my atomic mass, protons, electrons, neutrons, and electron shells. Then I drew my nucleus, labeling my protons and neutrons with my chemical symbol in the middle. Then I drew my energy levels. then I filled my energy levels. We're going to have lots of time to practice this, and I hope this video was helpful in preparing us for class tomorrow. Thank you.